The ripping sound echoed through the classroom like thunder fabric tearing, buttons scattering across the floor as 3 senior boys cornered the new substitute teacher at the blackboard. Her white blouse hanging in shreds. Miss Willow Thorne didn't scream, didn't run, didn't even blink. Instead, she turned around slowly, ice blue eyes locking onto each boy's face, with a stare so cold that frost seemed to form on the windows. What happened next would change Westfield High forever. The morning had started like any other Tuesday in room 217. Advanced Chemistry. Third period. 8:45 a.m. 28 students filed in. Backpacks thudding against desks. Sneakers squeaking on linoleum. The usual chaos before the bell, but today was different. Today, they had a substitute. Miss Willow Thorne stood at the front, writing chemical formulas on the board. She was young, maybe 25, with platinum blonde hair pulled back in a perfect bun, navy blazer, white blouse, pencil skirt, professional, proper, everything the boys of Westfield High loved to destroy. Fresh meat. Jackson Sterling whispered from the back row, his buddies, Brody and Zane, snickered. They were the untouchables football players, rich parents, golden futures. Jackson's father owned half the town. His grandfather had built the school. Rules didn't apply to Sterling's. Miss Thorne kept writing. The chalk clicked against the board in steady rhythm. Click, click, click. Look at her, Brody muttered, acting all smart. Bet she's never had a real job. Probably here because she couldn't hack it anywhere else. Zane added, cracking his knuckles. The rest of the class pretended not to hear. They knew better. When Jackson Sterling decided to hunt, you either joined the pack or became prey. Most chose invisibility. Emma Rodriguez, sitting in the middle row, gripped her pencil tighter. She'd seen this before. Last year, they'd driven Mrs. Chen to tears. The year before, Mr. Marcus had Kit mid-semester. The Sterling Squad, as everyone called them, had a gift for breaking teachers. All right, class. Miss Thorne said, turning around. Her voice was calm, steady, like still water. Today we're covering molecular bonds. Who can tell me the difference between ionic and covalent? Silence. Jackson raised his hand, smirking. Yeah. I got a question. Yes? Are you even old enough to teach? You look like you just graduated. A few nervous laughs rippled through the room. Miss Thorne's expression didn't change. I'm qualified to teach this class. Now, molecular bonds. That's not what I asked. Jackson interrupted, standing up. 6'3", 200 pounds of entitled muscle. I asked if you're old enough. My dad says we deserve experienced teachers. Not. Whatever you are. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Emma noticed Miss Thorne's fingers tightened slightly around the chalk. Just slightly, sight down. Mr. Sterling. Or what? Jackson took a step forward. You'll give me detention? You'll call my dad? He laughed. Lady, my family built this school. The Sterling Science Wing? That's us. You're standing in my house. Brody and Zane stood up too, flanking their leader. The triangle formation. Intimidation 101. Miss Thorne set the chalk down, turned to face them fully. Still that eerie calm. I said sit down. Make me. The words hung in the air like a challenge. 25 students held their breath. This was it. The moment every new teacher either established dominance or got eaten alive. Jackson moved closer. His cologne, something expensive and obnoxious, filled the space. You know what I think? I think you're scared. I think underneath that professional act, you're just another weak little... Finish that sentence. Miss Thorne said quietly, and you'll regret it. Something in her voice made even Brody step back. But Jackson Sterling had never backed down from anything in his life. Weak, little, girl. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to stop humming. Miss Thorne smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind of smile a shark might give before feeding time. Interesting choice of words. Mr. Sterling, tell me, what do you know about weak little girls? I know they don't belong in positions of authority, Jackson said, chest puffed out. I know they crack under pressure. I know. You know nothing. She moved then, not dramatically, just shifted her weight, squared her shoulders. Suddenly, she didn't look small anymore. Sit down now. You can't. I can. I will. And if you test me further, You'll discover exactly what this weak little girl is capable of. Your choice. For a moment, Jackson wavered. Something in her eyes, something cold and dangerous made his instincts scream warnings, but his pride was louder than his instincts. You, threatening me? In front of witnesses? He gestured at the class. Everyone heard that. My dad's lawyer will— Your dad's lawyer will what? Miss? Thorne pulled out her phone, swiped to record. Please. Continue. Tell the class more about how women don't belong in positions of authority. I'm sure the school board would love to hear your thoughts on gender equality. Jackson's face flushed red. You can't record me without. Actually, I can. Colorado is a one-party consent state for recordings in public settings. This classroom is public property. You're speaking loudly and clearly, with no expectation of privacy, but please, don't let legal facts stop you from digging your hole deeper. Emma's jaw dropped. Other students started pulling out their phones too. The hunter was becoming the hunted. Put those away, Jackson snarled at his classmates. Why? A quiet voice asked. Keiko Nakamura, usually silent, held her phone steady. Afraid of evidence? You little. Choose your next words very carefully. Miss. Thorne interrupted. Racial slurs will escalate this from disruption to hate speech. That's expulsion territory. Even for a Sterling. Jackson's fists clenched. Brody grabbed his arm. Dude. Maybe we should. Shut up. Jackson shook him off. His face was purple now. Vinespulging. You think you're smart? You think you've won? I own this school. My family. Your family's money doesn't make you untouchable. Miss. Thorne said. It just makes your falls more public. Now, you have two options. Sit down and learn chemistry. Or continue this performance and face the consequences. Decide. The challenge in her voice was unmistakable. She wanted him to keep going. She was baiting him. And Jackson Sterling, who'd never met a trap he couldn't muscle through, took the bait. You know what? Screw this. He turned to the class. Everyone out. Class is cancelled. Nobody moved. I said get out. Still? Nobody moved. Emma felt a strange courage building in her chest. They were all tired of the Sterling squad's reign of terror. And this teacher, this substitute who was supposed to be easy prey was, standing up to them. Seems your authority has limits. Miss. Thorne upside. Funny how that works. That did it. Jackson lunged forward. Not at Hare. He wasn't that stupid, but at her desk. He swept his arm across it, sending papers flying. Coffee spilling. Her laptop crashing to the floor. Oops. He said, grinning. Clumsy me. Miss. Thorne didn't react to the destruction. She simply made a note on her phone. Property damage. Recorded. Continue? You're not recording. She turned the phone around. The red recording light blinked steadily. The angle perfectly captured his face, his actions. Everything. Delete that. No. I said delete it. And I said no. Interesting how you struggle with women saying no to you. Should we explore that? Brody and Zane exchanged nervous looks. This wasn't going according to plan. Usually, teachers crumbled by now. They yelled, cried, threatened empty punishments. They didn't stand there like ice sculptures, documenting everything with clinical precision. You're done here. Jackson growled. By lunch, my dad will have you fired. By tomorrow, you'll be blacklisted from every school in the state. By next week, you'll be facing assault charges. The word assault hung in the air like a bomb. I haven't touched you. Yet. Miss. Thorne's smile was razor sharp. But you're building up to it. The aggression. The property damage. The attempt to physically intimidate, it's all textbook escalation. And thanks to 27 witnesses and multiple recordings, we have everything documented. So please, make your move. I've been looking forward to this. Something in her tone made everyone shiver. She wasn't bluffing. She wanted him to try something physical. She was prepared for it. Emma realized with sudden clarity that Miss Willow Thorne wasn't some random substitute. She was a hunter. And she'd walked into this classroom specifically looking for prey like Jackson Sterling. You set me up. Jackson breathed. I gave you choices. You made them. Personal responsibility. It's a difficult concept for someone who's never faced consequences. Isn't it? The bell rang. Nobody moved. Class dismissed. Miss Thorne said calmly. Except you three, we're not done. The other students filed out slowly, reluctantly. Everyone wanted to see how this ended. But the ice in Miss Thorne's voice brooked no argument. Emma was the last to leave. Catching Miss Thorne's eye as she passed, the teacher gave her the slightest nod, a promise that this wasn't over. In the hallway, the whispers started immediately. Did you see Jackson's face? She destroyed him without raising her voice. Who is she? I've never seen anyone stand up to the Sterling squad like that. Emma pulled out her phone, checking the school's website. There had to be more information about this substitute, but the teacher directory showed nothing. Miss Willow Thorne didn't exist in their system before today. Back in the classroom, the door clicked shut. Through the narrow window, Emma could see Miss Thorne facing the three boys. She couldn't hear the words, but she could see Jackson's face cycling through emotions: anger, fear, disbelief. Then Miss Thorne pulled something from her blazer, a badge. Emma's heart stopped. The rumors had been true. After the scandal at Riverside High where a teacher had been assaulted and the school covered it up, the state had started embedding undercover investigators in problem schools. Teachers with law enforcement training, being there to catch predators and bullies in the act. Miss Willow Thorne wasn't a substitute teacher. She was a trap. And Jackson Sterling had walked right into it. The lunch bell couldn't come fast enough. The entire school was buzzing. Emma found her usual table where her friends Keiko, Deshawn, and Aria were already deep in discussion. I heard she's FBI, Deshawn whispered. Don't be stupid, Aria said. FBI doesn't do high school stings. State investigator, Keiko corrected. My cousin goes to Riverside. Same thing happened there. They brought in someone to catch the wrestling coach, who was. She lowered her voice. You know, the Sterling squad isn't that bad. Aria protested weakly. Really? Emma pulled out her phone. Remember what they did to Miss Patterson last year? Everyone fell silent. Miss Patterson, the young English teacher who'd tried to fail Jackson for plagiarism, the Sterling squad had made her life hell/tires. Dead animals in her desk. Photoshopped pictures spread online. She'd left mid-year. No explanation given. And Mr. David, Deshawn added. And Coach Martinez. And, we get it. Aria interrupted. But this is different. This teacher came looking for a fight. No, Emma said firmly. She came looking for justice. There's a difference. Speaking of the Sterling squad, they were nowhere to be seen at lunch. Jackson's usual table prime real estate by the window sat empty. The football team looked lost without their captain. Think they got suspended? Keiko wondered. Think they got arrested? Deshawn countered. As if summoned by their speculation, the cafeteria doors burst open. Jackson Sterling stormed in, face twisted with rage. No Brody. No Zane. Just him. Alone and seething, he spotted Emma's table and made a beeline for them. You, he snarled, pointing at Keiko. You recorded me. Keiko lifted her chin. Yes. Delete it. No, I'm not asking. And I'm not complying. Keiko's hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. What are you gonna do? Jackson, assault me in front of 200 witnesses? You have no idea who you're messing with. Actually, I do. Emma stood up, surprising herself. You're Jackson Sterling. Your dad owns Sterling Industries. Your mom's on the school board. Your grandfather donated the science wing, and none of that matters anymore. Sight down. Rodriguez. Before what? Emma felt the eyes of the entire cafeteria on them. Before you do to me what you did to Miss Patterson? Before you terrorize another woman who won't bow down to you? That's not. We know. Jackson, everyone knows. We've all been too scared to say anything because of your family's power. But guess what? Someone finally called your bluff. And it's over. Jackson's hand twitched toward her. Just a small movement. But 3 football players immediately stood up from nearby tables. Not his teammates, players who'd been benched because they wouldn't follow the Sterling squad's lead. Try it. One of them said, please. Jackson looked around the cafeteria. Really looked. Every face was hostile. Every phone was out. The kingdom he'd ruled through fear was crumbling in real time. This isn't over, he hissed. Yes, a familiar voice said from behind him. It is. Miss Thorne stood in the doorway. She'd changed close to the coffee-stained outfit, replaced with another crisp ensemble, but there was something different about her stance now. More official. More dangereux. Mr. Sterling. You're needed in the principal's office. Your father is here. Jackson's face went white. My dad? And his lawyer, and a detective from the state police, and a representative from the Department of Education, Quite the party. Her smile was all teeth. Shall we? She turned and walked away, clearly expecting him to follow. After a moment of paralyzed silence, it did. The cafeteria erupted the moment they were gone. Holy crap. Did you see his face? State police, I told you. Rodriguez. That was badass. Emma sank back into her seat, adrenaline making her hands shake. Keiko squeezed her shoulder. You okay? Yeah. I can't believe I did that. You said what we've all been thinking. Deshawn said. About time someone did. Arya was staring at her phone, face pale. Guys, check the school's Twitter. She held up the screen. Someone had already posted videos from chemistry class. Multiple angles. Crystal clear audio. Jackson's rant about women in authority, his destruction of property, his threats. The comments were pouring in. Is this real? Sterling finally got caught. That teacher is my hero. About time someone stood up to him. The hashtag number Sterling exposed was already trending locally. It's everywhere. Keiko breathed, scrolling through her own feed. Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. Everyone's sharing it. Look at this. Deshawn showed them his screen. Someone made a compilation of all the teachers who left because of the Sterling squad. There's like 12 of them. Emma felt a chill. 12 teachers in 4 years. And those were just the ones they knew about. The afternoon classes were a blur. Nobody could concentrate. Teachers tried to maintain normalcy, but everyone was checking their phones, whispering, waiting for news. Finally, during 6th period, the intercom crackled to life. Attention students and staff, this is Principal Morrison. I need to address the events of this morning. The entire school held its breath. As many of you are aware, there was an incident in the chemistry classroom involving inappropriate behavior toward a staff member. I want to assure you that we take such matters extremely seriously. The students involved have been dealt with according to school policy and state law. State law, not just school policy. Additionally, I'm pleased to announce that Miss Thorne will be continuing with us. Not as a substitute, but as a permanent member of our faculty. She brings extensive experience in both education and conflict resolution. Someone in Emma's class actually applauded. Others joined in, until the whole room was clapping. Furthermore, the principal continued. We'll be implementing new policies regarding harassment, bullying, and abuse of power. Zero tolerance means zero tolerance. Regardless of family name or connections, anyone who thinks otherwise is welcome to test that theory. I assure you, the results will be swift and severe. The intercom clicked off. For a moment, silence. Then, from somewhere down the hall, cheering. It spread like wildfire through the building. 3 years of fear, ending in a single morning. After school, Emma found herself walking past the chemistry room. The door was open. Miss Thorne was inside, calmly reorganizing the desk Jackson had destroyed. Miss Rodriguez, she said without looking up. Come in. Emma entered hesitantly. How did you know it was me? Your sneakers squeak in a very specific pattern. Miss Thorne smiled, and for the first time, it was warm. Thank you for standing up in the cafeteria. That took courage. I was so tired of being afraid. Fear is a tool of control. Once you break its hold, the controller becomes powerless. She gestured to a chair. Sit. I think you deserve some answers. Emma sat. Heart pounding. You're not really a teacher, are you? I am. Actually, master's in chemistry from Princeton. Taught for 3 years before I found my calling in a different kind of education. She leaned against the desk. I investigate schools with systemic harassment issues, places where the normal channels have failed, like Westfield. Your principal requested help after Ms. Patterson's incident. It took months to get approval. Set up the cover. Wait for the right moment. And you chose the Sterling squad as targets? They chose themselves. I simply gave them the rope. Her expression hardened. Men like Jackson Sterling grow up to be Harvey Weinsteins and Brock Turners if someone doesn't intervene early. Better to stop them now. While the consequences can still teach them something, what's going to happen to him? Assault charges for the incident with Miss Patterson, yes. She finally agreed to testify. Destruction of property for today. Mandatory counseling. Community service. And his father? She smiled coldly. Let's just say, Mr. Sterling Sr. is discovering that donations don't buy immunity when the Department of Education gets involved. Emma absorbed this. Justice. Actual justice. Will you really stay? As a permanent teacher? That depends. Westfield still has work to do. The Sterling squad was a symptom, not the disease. But yes, I think I'll stick around for a while. If that's all right with you? More than all right. Miss. Thorne moved to the board, picking up chalk. Good. Now, since we never actually covered molecular bonds this morning, how about a quick review? Consider it a preview for tomorrow. Emma grinned. I'd like that. As Miss. Thorne began drawing diagrams. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from Keiko. Emergency. Check the parking lot. Now. Emma's stomach dropped. Miss. Thorne. I need to. Go. But be careful. Madame. The hallways were mostly empty. After-school activities just beginning. She burst through the main doors and froze. The parking lot was chaos. Jackson Sterling stood by a black Mercedes, screaming at someone on his phone. His father's car was surrounded by police vehicles. Actual police cars. Not campus security. You can't do this, Jackson shouted. Do you know who I am? An officer approached him calmly. Sir, I need you to put the phone down. Screw you. My dad will. Your father is currently in custody. The officer said. Now. Phone down. Hands where I can see them. Emma found Keiko and the others gathered by the fence. Phones out. Recording everything. What happened? Emma gasped. The Patterson thing was just the start. Deshawn whispered. Turns out the Sterling family has been paying off victims for years. Teachers. Students. Anyone who complained. It's a whole conspiracy. Miss. Thorne's investigation uncovered all of it. Arya added. Sounding stunned. Financial records. Hush money. Threats. The FBI got involved. FBI. So Deshawn had been partially right. Jackson was still ranting. This is her fault. That psycho substitute. She planned this. Sir. Final warning. Phone down. Instead of complying, Jackson threw the phone at the officer. It missed, shattering against the cruiser. That was all the excuse they needed. Within seconds, Jackson Sterling untouchable. Golden boy. Terror of Westfield High was face down on the asphalt, hands cuffed behind his back. You're making a mistake, he screamed. I'll sue. I'll destroy all of you. But his threats sounded hollow now. Pathetic. Even without his squad, his father's money, his reign of fear, Jackson Sterling was just another entitled brat facing consequences for the first time. As they loaded him into the police car, Emma caught sight of Miss Thorne watching from a second-floor window. Their eyes met across the distance. The teacher raised her coffee mug in a small salute. Is it wrong that I'm enjoying this? Keiko asked. No, Emma said firmly. It's justice. We're allowed to appreciate justice. They watched until the police cars pulled away, taking the Sterling legacy with them. The parking lot slowly emptied, students and staff heading home with stories that would be told for years. But Emma lingered, staring at the empty space where terror had ruled for so long. Change had come to Westfield High, wearing a pencil skirt and carrying a chemistry degree. And tomorrow, for the first time in years, she'd walk these halls without fear. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your email. W.T. Emma opened her mail app. There was a message with attachments. Police reports, witness statements, a timeline of the Sterling squad's harassment going back years, and at the bottom, a simple note. Knowledge is power. Use it wisely. The real work starts now. Emma looked back at the school. Miss Thorne was gone from the window, but her presence lingered. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The Sterling squad had followers, copycats, enablers. The system that had protected them still existed, but something fundamental had shifted. The spell was broken. The untouchables had been touched. And in room 217, a chemistry teacher who was more than she seemed would be waiting, ready to teach more than just molecular bonds. Emma smiled, pocketing her phone. She had homework to do. Real homework. For once, and somehow, that felt like victory too. As she walked home, her phone exploded with notifications. The videos had gone beyond local national news sites, were picking up the story. Small-town dynasty falls to substitute teacher sting. One headline read, The Sterling Scandal. How one woman exposed years of corruption. Read another. But the best message came from Miss Patterson, the teacher who'd been driven away. Thank you, all of you. I can finally breathe again. Emma screenshotted that one, Some victories were worth saving. The sun was setting over Westfield, painting the sky in shades of justice. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow would be better. And in room 217, molecular bonds would finally get the attention they deserved. But somewhere across town, in a mansion now empty of power, phones were ringing, lawyers were strategizing. The Sterling Empire might be wounded, but wounded animals were the most dangerous. The war for Westfield High wasn't over. It had just begun. The attack came at 3:27 a.m. Emma woke to the sound of breaking glass. Her bedroom window exploding inward in a shower of glittering shards. A brick landed on her carpet, wrapped in paper. Her mother's scream echoed from down the hall. "Emma, are you okay?" "I'm fine," Emma called back, heart hammering. She grabbed her phone, already recording, and carefully picked up the brick. The note was simple: "Stop talking or next time, it won't be a brick." By the time the police arrived, Emma had already texted Miss Thorne. The response was immediate: "On my way. Don't touch anything else. Document everything." Within an hour, Emma's house was a crime scene. Officers dusted for prints while detectives photographed the damage. Miss Thorne arrived looking nothing like a chemistry teacher, all black clothes, hair in a tight ponytail, expression deadly serious. "Show me," she said simply. Emma handed over her phone, showing the video she'd captured. Miss Thorne studied it with professional intensity. "Security cameras? Our neighbor has them," Emma's mother said, still shaking. "They cover part of our driveway." "Good. Officer Martinez, please secure that footage immediately." Miss Thorne's voice carried authority that made even the senior detective listen. "This is witness intimidation. Federal crime. I want a protection detail on this house starting now." "Ma'am, we don't have resources for." Miss Thorne pulled out her phone, dialed a number. "Director? Yes. It's Thorne. The Sterling situation has escalated. I need a favor." She listened, then handed the phone to the detective. "You'll want to take this." The detective's face went pale as he listened. "Yes. Sir. Understood. Right away. Sir." He handed the phone back, looking at Miss Thorne with new respect. "Federal marshals will be here within 2 hours." Emma's mother grabbed Miss Thorne's arm. "Who are you? Really?" "Someone who's very good at making bullies regret their choices." Miss Thorne replied. "Emma, pack a bag. You're staying somewhere safe tonight." But no arguments. They escalated. Now we escalate harder. By dawn, Emma wasn't the only one under protection. Keiko's family had received death threats. Deshawn's car tires were slashed. Arya's social media was hacked, filled with vile messages. The Sterling machine was fighting back. But they'd made a critical error. They'd threatened children. At 7 a.m., Westfield High looked like a fortress. Police cars ringed the parking lot. Metal detectors appeared at every entrance. Principal Morrison stood at the main doors, personally greeting every student. "We will not be intimidated," he said to anyone who'd listen. "School continues as normal." But nothing was normal. The Sterling squad's remaining supporters walked the halls like ghosts, isolated and shunned. Brody and Zane were nowhere to be seen, rumor had it. Their families had already shipped them to boarding schools out of state. Emma entered chemistry class to find it packed beyond capacity. Students from other periods had crammed in, sitting on windowsills and standing against walls. Miss Thorne surveyed the crowd with cool assessment. "I assume you're all here for more than molecular bonds?" Nervous laughter rippled through the room. "Good. Then let's talk about what really bonds us, Scourge, in the face of terrorism." She pulled down a screen, connected her laptop. "Last night, several of your classmates were attacked for standing up to corruption. This is what we call retaliation. And it's exactly what guilty people do when they're cornered." Images appeared on screen. Security footage from various cameras around town. Clear shots of figures in Sterling Industries uniforms slashing tires, throwing bricks, spray painting threats, sloppy work. Miss Thorne commented clinically. Company vehicles with GPS trackers, uniforms with employee IDs visible, phone locations putting them at every scene. It's almost like they wanted to get caught. Or they thought they were still untouchable. Emma said quietly. "Precisely. Arrogance breeds stupidity. Now, who can tell me what happens when you threaten federal witnesses?" A hand shot up. "Federal witnesses?" Miss Thorne smiled coldly. "Oh, didn't I mention? The Department of Justice opened a RICO case against Sterling Industries yesterday. Racketeering, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. Everyone who testified about the harassment is now a federal witness. Threatening them isn't just a crime, it's a federal felony with mandatory prison time. The room erupted in whispers. RICO was serious, the kind of charges used against organized crime. But here's the beautiful part. Miss Tarn continued. They recorded themselves committing these crimes. Company vehicles have dash cams. Security systems they thought protected them actually documented their guilt. And the phone Mr. Sterling Sr. used to coordinate the attacks? Still logged into the company server. She clicked to the next slide. Text messages filled the screen. Make them pay. Shut them up permanently. I don't care what it takes. That brick better send a message. My God. Someone whispered. He actually put it in writing. Panic makes people stupid. Miss Thorne said. And nothing causes panic like losing control. The door burst open. Jackson Sterling stood there, breathing hard, eyes wild. He wasn't supposed to be here. There was a restraining order. But desperation had overridden sense. You, he pointed at Miss Thorne. You destroyed my family. Security guards appeared instantly. But Miss Thorne held up a hand. Let him speak. I want everyone to hear this. My dad's in jail, our accounts are frozen, my mom had a heart attack, all because of your lies. My lies? Miss Thorne pulled up a new screen. Let's examine these lies. Exhibit A. Financial records showing $2.3 million in hush money payments over 6 years. Exhibit B. Threatening emails sent to 14 different teachers. Exhibit C. Police reports buried through bribes. Exhibit D. Hospital records for Miss Patterson after her accident that your father arranged. Should I continue? Each slide was devastating. Names, dates, amounts, evidence, the Sterling crimes laid bare in undeniable detail. That's not, Jackson stammered. Your turn. Miss Thorne said. Show us your evidence. Prove these are lies. We'll wait. Jackson's face contorted. I don't need evidence. I know what you are. You're not a teacher. You're a federal investigator embedded in schools to catch predators and corruption? Yes. We've established that. Your point? You entrapped us. Did I force your father to pay off victims? Did I make you assault teachers? Did I tell you to terrorize students? Her voice was ice. You made choices. Consequences followed. That's not entrapment, that's justice. I'll kill you. Jackson snarled, stepping forward. I swear I'll... The room gasped. He'd just threatened a federal agent, in front of 50 witnesses, while being recorded by multiple phones. Miss Thorne didn't flinch. Please continue. Threatening a federal agent carries a 5-year minimum sentence. You're at what? 15 years total now? Want to go for 20? Security finally moved, grabbing Jackson's arms, but he fought them. Fury overriding reason. You think you've won? You have no idea who you're messing with. The Sterling name means something. We built this town. We own... You own nothing. Miss Thorne's voice cut through his rant. Sterling Industries' assets were frozen at 6 a.m. The board voted your father out at 7. Your family trust is under federal seizure. Your house will be auctioned to pay restitution to victims. You own nothing. The fight went out of Jackson like air from a balloon. No, that's not... You can't. I didn't. You did. Every crime. Every bribe. Every threat, you built the case against yourselves. I just collected the evidence. As security dragged him out, Jackson looked back one last time, not with anger now, but with something worse, understanding. He finally got it. The empire was gone. The name was ruined. The fear was broken. And it was all their own fault. The classroom sat in stunned silence until Miss Thorne spoke again. Questions? Every hand shot up. Yes. Miss Nakamura? How long have you been doing this? Taking down corrupt families? 7 years. 16 cases. The Sterlings are number 17. Have you ever lost? Miss Thorne's smile was sharp. I don't lose. I prepare. I wait. And I strike when they give me the opening. Bullies always give you the opening. Their arrogance guarantees it. What happens now? Deshawn asked. Now? Now the real work begins. Removing one corrupt family doesn't fix systemic problems. We need new policies, new oversight, new courage from everyone. Change doesn't come from one persona, it comes from communities deciding they've had enough. Emma raised her hand. Will you stay? After this is over? That depends. Will you keep fighting? Or will you go back to silence once the obvious threat is gone? The challenge hung in the air. Emma stood up. I'll keep fighting. Keiko stood too. Me too. One by one. Students rose. Not everyone, some remained seated, uncertain or afraid, but most stood. A room full of young people ready to change their world. Then I'll stay. Miss Thorne said simply. Now, let's actually cover molecular bonds. You still have an exam Friday. Groans mixed with laughter. Somehow, returning to normal chemistry felt like the most radical thing they could do. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. The Sterling trial became national news. 67 victims came forward. The investigation spread to other prominent families who'd participated in the cover-ups. Westfield's power structure crumbled and rebuilt. Miss Thorne taught chemistry by day and testified in court by night. She showed up to every hearing, every deposition. A constant reminder that someone was watching, someone cared, someone would fight. Emma became something of a local hero. Though she tried to deflect attention, she started a student advocacy group, training others to document harassment and stand up safely. Keiko ran for student council and won in a landslide. Deshawn launched a podcast exposing corruption in schools nationwide. Aria wrote articles that major newspapers picked up. They were changing things, really changing things. But the best moment came 3 months later, on a Tuesday afternoon. Emma was leaving chemistry when she noticed someone in the parking lot. A woman, mid-20s, standing by an old Honda. It was Miss Patterson. She looked different, healthier, stronger. The haunted look was gone from her eyes. Miss Patterson? Emma approached carefully. The former teacher smiled. Hello. Emma, I wanted to thank you. In person? You don't need to thank. Yes, I do. Miss Patterson's voice was firm. You stood up when I couldn't. You fought when I was too broken to fight. Because of you and Miss Thorne, I got justice. But more than that, I got my life back. What will you do now? I'm teaching again. Different state. Fresh start. But this time, I know I'm not alone. If someone tries to hurt me, I know there are people who will stand up. That changes everything. They talked for a few more minutes before Miss Patterson had to leave. As her car pulled away, Emma felt a hand on her shoulder. Miss Thorne stood beside her. Proud of you. The teacher said simply, I didn't do anything special. You stood up. In that moment, in that cafeteria. You chose courage over comfort. That's everything. They watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. The school looked different now. Safer. Cleaner. Like a place where learning could actually happen. What's your real name? Emma asked suddenly. Not Willow Thorne. Your actual name. Miss Thorne smiled. Sarah. Sarah Chen. Emma blinked. Chen? But that's my married name. My husband teaches history at Riverside High. We met during my first embedded assignment. She laughed at Emma's expression. What? You thought I was some lone wolf with no connections? Everyone needs support. Emma. Even ice queens who take down corrupt dynasties. Does he know what you really do? He was my backup the night they attacked your house. Who do you think was monitoring scanner traffic and coordinating federal response? Her smile turned fond. Behind every woman taking down corruption is a partner making sure she comes home safe. It was such a human moment. Miss Thorne Sarah Chen wasn't just an unstoppable force of justice. She was a person with a life, a family, vulnerabilities. Somehow that made her more heroic, not less. Will you tell the others your real name? When they're ready. Trust is earned, not given, but you've earned it. She checked her watch. I need to go. Faculty meeting about the new anti-harassment protocols. Want to make sure they have teeth. As she walked away, Emma called out, Miss Shen? The teacher turned. Thank you for everything. Thank yourself. You already had the courage. I just showed you how to use it. The final bell rang, echoing across the transformed campus. Students poured out, chatting and laughing without the undercurrent of fear that had defined Westfield for so long. Emma joined the flow. Her advocacy group meeting in 10 minutes. Homework after that. A normal life reclaimed from the ashes of tyranny. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, but she recognized the style. New situation developing at Northside High. Similar patterns. Thought you should know. S. C. Emma smiled. Typing back. Send me details. We have a network now, because that was the real victory. Not just stopping one bully or one corrupt family, but building something bigger, a web of students and teachers and good cops and brave parents, all connected, all watching, all ready to act when shadows grew too dark. The Sterling Empire had fallen, but from its ruins grew something stronger, a community that refused to be silenced, led by a chemistry teacher who was so much more, and students who'd learned the most important lesson of all: your voice matters, your courage counts, and together, you're unstoppable. As Emma walked toward her meeting, she passed room 217. Through the window, she could see Miss Chen writing on the board, preparing tomorrow's lesson, molecular bonds, properly taught at last. But they'd all learned about bonds that semester, the bonds between people who refuse to let fear win, the bonds that form when someone shows you it's possible to fight back, the bonds that even the richest, most powerful bullies can't break. Justice had come to Westfield High, wearing sensible heels and carrying a grade book. And it was there to stay. The Northside High situation exploded faster than anyone expected. 2 days after Emma received Sarah Chen's message, her phone lit up with dozens of texts. Videos were spreading across social media. Female freshmen at Northside cornered in a bathroom. 3 senior girls dumping her backpack in a toilet, laughing as textbooks dissolved in the water. Look at the scholarship girl pretending she belongs here. One attacker sneered in the video. Public school trash. Emma felt her blood boil. Northside was a private academy, the kind that charged $40,000 a year and promised worried parents their precious children would never mix with the wrong element. Apparently, their definition of wrong included any student who needed financial aid. Emergency meeting. Emma texted her network, "My house. 7 p.m. By 6:45. Her living room was packed. Keiko, Deshawn, Aria, and a dozen others from their advocacy group, but there were new faces: 2 students from Riverside, Eastgate, even Jefferson High on the other side of town. Word had spread about what they'd accomplished at Westfield. Others wanted in. Sarah Chen arrived last, still in her teaching clothes, but with that sharp look that meant she was in investigator mode. "What do we know?" Emma asked, calling the meeting to order. "Victim's name is Destiny Washington," Keiko reported. "Laptop open. Freshman. Full academic scholarship. She's been targeted since day 1. This is just the first time someone filmed it." The attackers? Madison Pemberton, Skylar Ashford, Brooklyn Van Dappe, all legacy students. Their families basically own Northside. Sarah Chen studied the footage on Keiko's screen. Classic establishment bullying. They see her as a threat to their social order. "Can we help?" asked a Jefferson High student. "Northside's a private school. Different rules. Different rules. Same laws." Sarah replied, "Assault is assault. But we need to be smart. Northside has better lawyers than Westfield ever did." Emma stood up, pacing. "What if we don't go through the school at all? What if we go public first?" "Explain," Sarah prompted. "The Sterling case got national attention because we documented everything. What if we skip the private negotiations and protective bureaucracy? Put together a package: the video, witness statements, pattern documentation, and release it simultaneously to local news, social media, and the Department of Education?" "The nuclear option," Deshawn mused. "I like it. It's risky." Sarah warned. "Northside could sue for defamation. Not if everything we share is true." Aria countered. She'd become their unofficial legal researcher. "Truth is an absolute defense. Plus, sharing already public videos isn't defamation." Emma pulled out her phone. "I'm texting Destiny, seeing if she'll talk to us." The response came quickly. "Who is this? How did you get my number?" "My name is Emma Rodriguez. I'm from Westfield High. We saw what happened to you. We've been through something similar. We can help, if you'll let us." A long pause. "Then, they said if I tell anyone, they'll revoke my scholarship." Emma's jaw clenched. "Same tactics. Different school. Can you meet us? Somewhere safe?" Another pause. "Coffee shop on 3rd Street, 9 tomorrow morning?" "We'll be there." The next morning, Emma and Sarah arrived at the coffee shop early. They chose a corner table with clear sightlines, Sarah's training showing through. At exactly 9, a girl walked in, small, nervous, wearing a Northside uniform that looked perfectly pressed despite everything. Destiny Washington was trying so hard to fit in. It broke Emma's heart. "Thank you for coming," Emma said gently. Destiny sat down carefully, eyes darting around. I shouldn't be here. If they find out, they won't. Sarah interrupted, sliding a business card across the table. Not her teacher card, her federal investigator credentials. Anything you tell us is protected. They can't touch your scholarship for reporting crimes. Destiny's eyes widened. You're like FBI? Department of Education. Special Investigations Unit. We handle cases like yours. Sarah's voice was kind but firm. Tell us everything. For the next hour, Destiny talked. The daily humiliation, the accidental spills on her uniform, the only one she could afford, the whispers about how she smelled like public school, the systematic destruction of her belongings, always, when no teachers were watching. Last week, they put bleach in my gym bag, ruined everything. I had to tell my mom I left it near the pool by accident because she can't afford to replace it all again. Emma's hands clenched under the table. Sarah just took notes. Professional mask in place. But Emma could see the fury in her eyes. The bathroom incident? Sarah prompted. They said it was initiation. That everyone goes through it. But I asked around, they only do it to scholarship kids. There were 3 others before me. All transferred out within a year. We need names. Emma said. Other victims. Witnesses. Anyone who might talk. Destiny hesitated. There's a teacher, Miss Garrett. She tried to help once. But Principal Morrison, different Morrison. No relation to yours. Shut her down. Told her not to rock the boat. Sarah and Emma exchanged glances. A sympathetic teacher could be the key. Would she talk to us? Sarah asked. Maybe. She seems pretty fed up with the whole place. They spent another 30 minutes developing a plan. Destiny would quietly document everything: photos of damaged property, screenshots of messages, audio recordings, if possible. Emma's network would investigate the previous scholarship students who'd been driven out. Sarah would reach out to Miss Garrett through official channels. You're not alone anymore, Emma told Destiny as they prepared to leave. We've got your back. Why? Destiny asked suddenly. Why do you care? You don't even know me. Emma smiled sadly. Because 6 months ago, I was you, scared, alone, watching bullies destroy people while everyone stayed silent. Someone stood up for me. Now it's my turn to pay it forward. The investigation moved fast. Within 3 days, they'd located 2 of the previous scholarship students. Both had similar stories. Both had evidence they'd been too frightened to use. Emma coordinated the release. Arya wrote a devastating article laying out the pattern of abuse. Deshawn created a video compilation that was impossible to ignore. Keiko built a website, Northside Accountability, with all the evidence organized and searchable. At exactly noon on Thursday, it all went live. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Northside Nightmare started trending within an hour. Local news picked it up by 2. By evening, national outlets were calling. Northside's principal tried damage control, releasing a statement about isolated incidents and rushing to judgment. But then more victims came forward. Not just scholarship students, anyone who didn't fit the elite mold. Kids who were too heavy, too awkward, anything that made them different. Looking around the room at her Frencher army, Emma felt the weight of responsibility, but also the lightness of hope. They'd started with one chemistry teacher taking down one bully. Now they were a network spanning multiple schools, multiple cities, catching predators and corruption wherever it tried to hide. The Sterling Empire had fallen, but from its ashes rose something far more powerful: a generation that understood their voice, their courage. Their bonds with each other were stronger than any bully's threats. And this was just the beginning.